So the next question is, how much did all of your jewelry making equipment slash machines, etc. cost you in total? Uh, Holy moly. Let's double check when we started Matera Made. Let's see. I uploaded my first video a year and 5 months ago, and I can genuinely say that I never expected my channel to grow this quickly. I can't believe that there are 30,000 of you guys. We hit 30,000, I think, last week, and we're still growing. And that's so exciting because I was totally fine with this thought, but I really thought that my channel would be very, very slow growing just because how niche it is. I wasn't sure if there would ever be 30,000 people that would want to watch me make jewelry. So thank you so, so much for everyone that has hit the subscribe button and has wanted to follow along on this journey. It's literally changed my life. It's allowed me to quit my job this year and go full-time in my jewelry business. It's given me the encouragement. I've learned so much from this platform. So I wanted to make sure that I took the time out to do a Q&A for you guys and answer any and all random questions that you have, and just say thank you for being here and for supporting me and for being so encouraging. I've said it many times and I'll say it again. YouTube is my favorite social media platform that exists right now. You all are so supportive and so genuine, and I just can't say thank you enough. So let's get into the Q&A because there's a lot of questions and I want to try and get to all of them. I'm going to pull the questions off my phone, so I will be looking at this. I'm sorry. Some of my Walmart items weren't available. I bet it's the heavy whipping cream. They've been out of heavy whipping cream for a long time. Yep, it's the heavy whipping cream. And I'm making chicken Alfredo for dinner. And you can't make chicken Alfredo without heavy whipping cream. Okay, I'm sorry. Back to the questions. The first question was if my studio is here in my house. And yes, I work in my basement. And it's really nice. I like it. It's got pretty good lighting for a basement. It does have like a drop down to another basement, and that's the really creepy one. But yes, I work out of my basement. The next question is, I want to become a goldsmith. Do you think I should start by doing an apprenticeship, or do you think it's better to just start by yourself? So that's going to depend on what you're able to do. I think that doing an apprenticeship or paying for a course or paying for school is awesome. You're just gonna get that much further, that much quicker, and you're gonna be more knowledgeable, you're gonna make less mistakes because you have someone to walk you through it. But that's not realistic for everyone if you're already working a 9 to 5, if you have a family, if you can't afford classes. So it's just gonna be based on what you're able to do. If you can do those things, absolutely do them. You're gonna learn so much faster. You're gonna far surpass those that are teaching themselves, like me. But if you're like me and you didn't have the time or the resources to do those things, to have someone to teach you or go to a class, then you definitely can learn yourself. Don't let that hold you back. I have a video, I think it's like posted as the first video for, it's like Pin. It's all about how I taught myself and how I learned. And although it was a slow process, if it's something that you love and you're passionate about, you can stick with it and you can learn and teach yourself and watch videos. I teach a little bit in some of my videos, obviously, but there are a lot of other really great resources. The Art of Metalsmithing, Beja, she's on here and she teaches. With Love Jewelry, she's teaching us, she's learning, and she does a lot of fabrication. The Bench, I believe it's The Bench by Barry. I'll try and put all the people right here that I've ever really referenced when I was teaching myself, and that way you guys can learn as well. There are a lot of people though, you guys, that don't teach, but they share their process, and you can just watch people a lot of the times and figure out what they're doing. That's how I learned a lot of techniques and what a lot of these tools were, because I came in this knowing nothing. I didn't know what a pendant motor or a micro motor was. I didn't know what gravers were, what different shapes were. I had to learn all these things by just being curious from watching people. Like, what are they using? Or what is that? What does that do? And screenshotting it and Googling it. And that's how I learned a lot. So you can learn from people as well if they're just videoing their process and not necessarily teaching. So don't be scared to go the self-taught route if that's all you can do, because you can get far from there as well. It just takes a lot of like will and persistence and drive. So you definitely can do it. Next question is, what furnace do I have? Is it programmable or do you have to adjust the temperature yourself during the burnout process? So I have a tabletop kiln. I got it on Amazon. I think you can also get it on Rio Grande, but please correct me if I'm wrong, but I got mine on Amazon. It is a programmable kiln and there are multiple versions of it, so you want to make sure that you get the right one. I have the correct one linked in my Amazon storefront if you want to be safe, because one of their kilns is more for like ceramics and hardening clay, and then the other is for actually burning out like waxes and resins, and so it has a hole at the top. So one doesn't have a hole at the top and one does, so make sure you don't buy the wrong one. The one that doesn't have the hole at the top is a little bit cheaper than the wax one. So just make sure you get the correct one. I've been using it for about a year now. I think October will be a year. It's not October, right? It's September. Yeah. October will be a year and I haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. I set my burnout schedule and I've never changed it since. I use the same burnout schedule for gold and for silver and it's really nice. I just turn it on, I hit run, and as soon as it hits 300 degrees, I put my flask in and then I let it just go through the cycle until it's time to cast. So I love, hi Finn. I do love Finn. He's a cute boy. So yeah, I use a tabletop kiln, it's programmable, and I love it. I am looking to get a different kiln sooner rather than later. I do love that kiln, but it can only fit one flask at a time, and I would eventually like to start casting for people, so I will need a larger kiln that can fit more flasks. So if anyone has any other programmable kiln recommendations, please put it in the comments. I'm looking for anything that can fit more than 2 flasks, or at least 2 flasks. I've looked on Rio Grande, so if anyone's bought one from Rio Grande, let me know what you got and if you like it. I've held off from purchasing one because of the price, but also there's just so many mixed reviews on so many of them, and so it makes it hard to pull the trigger when there are like 4 good reviews and then one that's just slamming the product. So I'm gonna keep doing some research, but if you guys have any good kiln recommendations, leave them in the comments. The next question is, I love your videos and the music you use. Please don't change it to the modern day crap. Thank you, I appreciate that. I have fun choosing the music. I go back and forth with my mood, but I'm enjoying the music right now as well. But the question is, how do you make your molds? Can you do an in-depth video on the process, please? So I've been making molds of my work over the last like 6 or 7 months. I've been making silicone molds of all of my pieces so I can wax inject them and make repeat copies. My silicone molds have been doing really well. They've been holding up just fine. And like I said, I've been doing it for about 6 to 7 months. I'll link in the description the exact silicone that I've been using. I got it on Rio Grande, and Finn, don't eat that. No, put that sock down. You can't eat that sock. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. Do you see his little teeth? Finn, this dog, you guys, ever since he went to the vet and started feeling better, he's a new dog to us. We rescued him I guess a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, and he was really sickly and he wasn't really super playful, and every day he feels better and he starts chewing more things, and right now, every time I look at him, he's got a sock in his mouth. So anyway, what was I saying? Silicone molds. Yes, I make silicone molds. I have a video on how I make those molds though. I don't know how many down it is. It's maybe a few months back, but I have a whole video of the first time I had ever made a silicone mold and then a more updated, less chaotic version. So if you'd like to see how I make those molds, you can find that video. I'll put it right up here so that you can just click on it. But it's been a game changer in my business and has helped me recreate my pieces so much faster with more consistency, and just really taken the pressure off of, like, if I have a week where I get many orders, there can be a lot of anxiety with that, with not wanting to feel like you're falling behind. So having those molds has been amazing. The next question was if I make jewelry for men. And I do have a few rings for men on my website, some just classic bands. I have a comfort fit band and then I have just a normal band. But I will say that a lot of my jewelry can be unisex. There are a lot of bands and signet rings that I have that are like, I guess technically in the women's section, but men can definitely order them, and I think they would look just as nice on them and not look too feminine. I would like, though, to make more men's jewelry like directed toward men, so let me know if that's something that you guys would be interested in. So this one says, I'd love to know more about how you get that molten look on your rings in the wax stage, specifically the Bogota ring. Also, how do you get the gemstone out of the wax model? Okay, so I do have a video where I show how I get the stones out of my pieces. The one that I was showing was a necklace, but it's gonna be the same for everything. And I don't know which video it is. I'll put it up here, but in the actual thumbnail it says how to get the stone out. But pretty much I just cut a hole in the back. I have a hole in the back of a lot of my jewelry so the light shines through the gemstones, and I just push it out with like anything. I sometimes use a drill bit, or I'll use the back of my X-Acto knife and I'll just push it out, and that's it. As for how I get the molten look on my jewelry, if you watch some of my videos back, I get a lot of close-ups of me creating that texture, but it's all gonna be practice and temperature. If you've got your temperature up too high, you're gonna get more of a smooth texture. If you get the right temperature though, of it being low but not too low, it'll let you drag your line of wax out, if that makes sense. When I first was practicing textures with wax, I just took a block of wax and played with temperatures, and just to see like what each temperature, what each amount of wax on my pen would give me, and I just played with the textures. I would also use different tips, so it could be different wax pen tips, or when I first started I was using like dental tools and I was heating them up over a flame, and different shaped dental tools will give you a different texture. So I really recommend that whatever you're using, whether it's those dental tools or using a wax pen, that you just play around with textures on a block of wax and see what you can create. I never mind sharing how I create my jewelry, as long as people aren't recreating my actual designs. I would hope that that's like a given. I wouldn't even have to say that, like, hey, I'm showing you how I'm doing this, but don't go making my same jewelry. But I don't mind sharing at all. So that texture is a lot to do with the temperature of your wax and how quickly you're pulling it away. That's the most that I can tell you. The rest is just going to come with like going through the motion and practicing. I'm still playing with wax carving at this point, but I would like to ask, how do you work with the Touch-O-Matic pen? I recently bought one, but I kind of feel afraid to keep it warm for too long. Do you know if you can keep it going safely for a good 5 minutes? Thank you. Have a wonderful day. So, I love my Touch-O-Matic pen. It is one of my favorite tools in the entire studio. I probably, if there were a fire, I know exactly which ones I would grab and run away with, and that pen is definitely one of them. I personally have never used the feature where it just consistently stays hot. One of the great things about this pen is it's all based on touch on the handpiece. So when you're holding it, the handpiece will light up if you have the sensor part turned on. So one of the best things about this pen is that you can choose if you want it to be touch based. So there's a button that says sensor, and you can click it, and if you click it, then it turns a sensor on in the handle that makes it only heat up when you're holding it. If you put it down, it stops heating up, or if you take your fingers off of it, it's gonna stop heating up. That's what I use all the time. And I will sometimes sit here for hours and hours and hours working with wax and using that pen. I've never had any trouble whatsoever. But I've never used the feature, I've never turned that sensor off where it just stays consistently hot, because I don't see the purpose in it. I don't know, but I think it would be fine. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with it. I've used other wax pens in the past that didn't have that really nice touch feature, and those stayed warm for, again, hours as well. But I just recommend using that sensor, and that way you can set your pen down and it doesn't stay consistently hot, because I bet that would increase the longevity of the whole unit and the pen and the tips. So if you got the Touch-O-Matic pen, use it what it's good for and turn the sensor on. So the next question is, apart from jewelry making, do you have any other hobbies / creative interests? Love your content. Well done again. Thank you so much. So I think you guys know from just looking at my videos, I've started collecting plants, and I honestly love it so much. I've got a ton of plants. I don't know how many at this point. I won't go all the way around the room because there's just too many to see right now, but But collecting plants and caring for them and repotting them and keeping them watered, keeping them happy, wiping down their leaves, there's something like very therapeutic about it. Watching a new leaf come in, it's really exciting. And that sounds so old, y'all. I really am about to turn 30 if I'm over here like collecting plants. But it's become a really fun hobby for me and I really enjoy it. I think my favorite thing right now is when a plant needs to be repotted and I get to play in the dirt and it's just really fun. I also go camping a lot with my family. We have a rooftop tent and we love to take the car out and go somewhere in the woods, somewhere in the mountains, make a steak and just hang out. So we're big campers, big road trippers. I also really like to read. I recently got a Kindle just so I could read at night, and so I've been kind of obsessed with reading. I love thrillers and psychological thrillers. I like some sci-fi. Aside from jewelry, those are probably it. So the next question is, how much did all of your jewelry making equipment slash machines, etc. cost you in total? So I've never done the math completely on like everything that's in this room, although I probably should for insurance purposes. I know that my casting equipment is around $3,500 to $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000, depending on if you get the more expensive furnace, like the melting furnace. So I mean, total, if I had to guesstimate the value of what I've had to spend on my equipment, probably near $8,000. Probably $8,000. That's the stuff that I've bought. I've been very, very, very fortunate recently to be working with Pepe Tools, and they've been helping me by sending me tools that they think can be helpful for me, tools that I've been eyeballing from them. They've been very, very generous. So there are things that I've gotten for free in the last 6 months, which has been mind-blowingly amazing. I can't ever say thank you enough for how supportive they have been of me. So a lot of the things recently have come from Pepe Tools and have been a gift, and that's been amazing. So out of my own pocket, probably about $8,000. Yeah, it's an expensive hobby to get into, but do not let that ever, ever, ever discourage you, because there's so much that you can accomplish with the bare minimum. Like, and I mean that genuinely. When I first started, I had nothing. I had a vise type bench peg, and I had a little wooden ring clamp. I had just my jeweler saw and some beeswax and some solder paste. What else? I had like a Black & Decker Dremel that I got on Amazon for like $24 to sand and polish. I started off with the most basic equipment sitting on the floor to make my jewelry, and I was selling jewelry just like that. So you don't need to have all of these things to create jewelry and make pretty things. There are tools that, yes, you're going to need to make stuff. Like I would have needed to buy a wax pen, but there are cheaper alternatives for everything. If you can't afford a tool, there's a DIY solution. There's a creative way to use that tool. I was watching with Love Jewelry, and she was using her wooden ring clamp, which I think you can get on Amazon for like $5. And she put it like up against her bench peg and was using and like twisting it. And it was just like an Encore vise. Like I spent, the Encore vise is like $700. And although it's amazing, if I would never not, I love it so much. It's another one of my favorite ones. If there was a fire, I'd grab it and run. But it just goes to show you that if you don't have it, it's okay. Like you can be creative with your tools and move on, you know, create your jewelry that you want to make and be creative with what you have, because you can do a lot with a little. And everything else after that is just a cherry on top. It's a convenience. It makes your life easier. Yes, it can make you faster, all of those things, but it's not like a must-have in order to move forward and pursue what you want to do. I hope that makes sense. I love every piece of equipment that I have. It's made my life and my work so much easier to accomplish, but you can do so much with so little. So please remember that. Upgrade slowly. Everything that I have are tools that I've acquired over the last 3 to 4 years. So I didn't just buy all this stuff overnight. It was a slow, gradual, all right, I have an extra $150. What tool can I get to make my life easier? Or, okay, I've got $200. What tool can I buy to make my life easier? And that's how my journey has been. Just one little thing at a time. Every now and then I shed a tear and I close my eyes and I swipe my credit card for the big things. And then I pay them off by selling jewelry. So that was a scary question. I don't want to know how much is in here. And it's a good reminder for me to actually add it up so that I can get insurance on this place in case anything ever happens. So the next question is, my biggest struggle is finding my unique style. How long did it take you to find your own style, and what was the process like? Any other info on this topic is so appreciated. So I think I mentioned this in the how I got started video. And it took me a long time to find my style. When I first started making jewelry, I was making clay jewelry. That was in 2021, I believe. Yeah, I started making clay jewelry during the pandemic. And so I was making clay jewelry. I was having fun with it, but I was like, this is not me. Then I started making silver jewelry, and I was just learning basic techniques. I was using a lot of cabochon stones. I was using a lot of turquoise, a lot of rose quartz. And I was, again, like, oh, this ring is pretty, but it does not feel like me. But it was techniques that I needed to learn in order to find my style, in order to grow. So although I wasn't making things that I was absolutely in love with, I was learning how to solder. I was learning how to set stones. I was learning how to create settings, and I was learning how to polish. So there were valuable things to take out of that time. I think you just have to recognize and be honest with yourself when you make something and you say, I like this, but it doesn't feel like me. And you just move on to something else. And so I was silversmithing for about a year before I started wax carving. So I was making things that I liked but didn't feel like me for about a year and a half. And then I started wax carving. Once I started wax carving, for me specifically, that's when I started to see things that I was like, yes, this is what I've been envisioning. This is making me smile ear to ear. Like, I would get so excited about the stuff that I was making, and that's how I knew, okay, I'm getting that much closer. Okay, this one, oh my God, this one ring, this ring embodies what I want my jewelry to look like. And then I got another step closer. And, it really does work like that, where you just make one thing and you're like, okay, this feels close. I don't think it's it, but it feels close. So you just have to keep playing, keep making different things. It's a lot like having a YouTube channel where you make a video and your first video, you're like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm hoping it evolves into something. I hope it reveals itself to me. And that's kind of like what making jewelry is. You just have to make something and then look at it and say, okay, this isn't it, but let's try something else. This isn't it, let's try something else. Ooh, this is close. Okay, I'm in love with this. And then you use that as your guide. I really hope that can help you. I also think that it's helpful to not look at other people's jewelry. Like, it's okay to take inspiration or to look at other jewelry for inspiration. But if you want to find your true unique style, don't go scrolling on Pinterest or don't scroll on Instagram looking at other people's jewelry, because you will subconsciously make something too similar to someone else and it won't be your style. So if you can just shut it all out. If you find yourself scrolling, be like, okay, no, I don't want to pull inspiration from anyone else right now. I want to just go play. Just go sit down and start making something and let it just come out of your own little noggin, and you will find it. 100% you will find your style. It does take a little while. Could be shorter for you, but it took me about a year and a half to 2 years to find what was me, what felt like me. So that was a good question. And the last question, and again, thank you guys so much for helping me hit 30,000. I wonder if we could hit 50 before the end of the year. Is that a lofty goal? I don't know. But thank you so much for being here, for watching my videos, for leaving sweet comments, and liking my videos. It really all helps me grow so much. This platform genuinely has changed my life. You guys watching and being so supportive has changed my life. Even if you don't buy my jewelry, you being here and watching this video helps me out so much. It helps my business, it helps my family. It also helps me not feel like I'm wasting my time. I actually have fun filming these videos and putting them together. It takes an obscene amount of time and effort to make these videos and put them together, and that's not me complaining, I'm just being honest. And so for that work and that effort to not be lost is an amazing feeling. So thank you so much for being here and for being so supportive. And I hope this video was fun and helpful. And if you guys have any more questions, leave them in the comments and I will try and reply back to as many people as I can. And I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.